Yes, this is happening. It's happening today. Over today, tomorrow, and the next day, we're getting full CBI treatment. Front and rear bumpers, skid plates, plus they're helping me with the install of the new Icon. They're helping me with the new install. They're helping me with the install of the new Icon Stage 7 suspension setup that's gonna perfectly complement the new setup that we have on the Turtleback. Alright, so here's the plan. I'm gonna drop trailer here. Might move the trailer a little bit later. I think I've got a good amount of room here to deploy. We're gonna do the lift first. They're gonna put on the Icon Stage 7 suspension first. So I'm gonna dump trailer. Hey, sorry to interrupt, real quick. This video, we're gonna be going through the detailed install of the new Icon Stage 7 full suspension setup. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Make sure you are subscribed right below, because next, we're gonna be doing the full CBI skid plate treatment. It goes all the way back. It looks incredible. And then after that, we're gonna be doing the front, right here, the front and the rear bumpers. So make sure you're subscribed. Thank you so much for watching this video. And also make sure you like it and leave a comment like, woohoo! I know what you're thinking. What system are you replacing? And why are you replacing it? I'm replacing just a basic OME setup, Old Man Emu. And it's just their basic 3-inch lift kit system. And you can get it from Toy Tech Lifts for like less than $1,000 and probably a dozen other places. I bought it used. It was the first off-road suspension I'd ever done. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I picked that because it was simple. It accomplished what I was trying to accomplish, which was more ground clearance. I didn't have any clue really what I was going to be needing in the future. And frankly, I just didn't want to spend $1 million on a suspension system. I mean, I wasn't really sure what I needed yet, so I didn't want to spend all the money on it just yet. You know what I mean? You know, I think it's a really good beginner system. I mean, if you're not really sure like what you're doing yet, it's a great place to start. I ran it for the better part of 2 years, never really had any problems with it. I mean, I never had any problems with it whatsoever. I did smack one of the lower bolts on one of the rear shocks at one point, and so I replaced the 2 rear shocks, I don't know, about 6 or 8 months ago. But all in all, it's been a great system. The reason why I'm changing is because, well, my needs have changed. I feel like I know a little bbit more about what I'm doing. I spent a lot more time doing like some research and trying to figure out like what I wanted. And really, I just wasn't happy with this setup anymore. For me, the ride was harsh. It didn't bother me in the beginning, but it began bothering me later how stiff the ride was. I just wanted something that had a greater kind of scope of capability, and I wanted some adjustability. This is the front, huh?
Yep, proper controllers.
What are these things?
Those are your upper rear control arms.
These are the upper control arms?
Yep, rear uppers.
For the rear, okay, got it. And this is going to be some length?
This is going to be the rear weller control arms.
Okay, so that's the long pole that goes between. Okay, so that, does it flex? Does that move? What is the object of replacing something like that? What does it do?
Well, when you lift a vehicle too much and you don't have adjustable control arms,
okay,
it's really hard to align it and different things, and it also helps with, you know, flexibility and stuff like that.
Okay, so they'll adjust some of that stuff during the alignment if they need to, kind of thing?
Yep.
This one looks a little bit bent. Is it supposed to be a little bit bent?
Yeah,
like
so it probably has a little bit of a bend in it,
okay,
just to probably clear, well, depends on which end, anyways, but yeah, this is gonna be the rear track bar.
And that one goes across side to side.
Yep, side to side, and adjusts the axle side to side.
So I don't think I have one now. Do I?
Yep, this guy right here.
Oh, it's up above the sway bar. Got it.
Yeah. That's probably why it's got that little bend in it.
Okay, so we talked about what we're doing. We're doing an Icon Stage 7 full suspension setup. And one of the reasons why I went with this particular setup over one of the, I guess, lesser variants was particularly because of the CDC valve, CDC-V. I'm not, so it's their compression damping control valve. And the whole idea and concept behind it is it allows you to adjust, I guess, the ride quality. There's probably technical terms in terms of like rebound and resistance and, you know, other things like that. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is I can make it stiffer, or I can make it a softer ride. And I really, really wanted to have that feature. This Stage 7 setup comes with, I'm gonna actually read it right off their website so that I get it 100% correct. It comes with an extended travel remote reservoir adjustable coilover shock kit, a tubular delta joint upper control arm. This is the tubular, not the billet. The billet was a little bit more expensive. Maybe it's nicer for one reason or another. I didn't feel like I needed it. It comes with a 2-inch lift rear coil spring, 2.5 series remote reservoir rear shocks with CDC-V, tubular steel lower link kit, tubular steel rear tubular steel rear lower link kit, tubular steel rear upper link kit, adjustable rear track bar kit, and then I didn't get the shin guards, but I need to, and I'm going to, and then there's some other things as well that are options. So really the first step for them was to kind of neutralize the KDSS system so that the hydraulic fluids could just kind of flow, so that the sway bars wouldn't have so much resistance on them. If you're curious like how KDSS works, I'm the wrong one to explain it to you. There's tons of great information out there. Just Google how it works and you'll figure it out. Once you get that done, then you just have to kind of start taking stuff apart. So right now he's removing the lower shock links, bolts on the other side. He's gonna have to obviously undo the upper control arms because those are gonna be replaced. And then once all that stuff comes out, the new stuff will go in. So this is just one long bolt right here that goes all the way through. And he was saying, I couldn't see it a second ago, but he had just slipped it on that way and slid it right down. So the difference between this upper control arm and the upper control arm we took off is just this one has added flexibility.
Yeah, so it's also helps with the lift. It sticks out a little bit further, gives you a little bit more adjustability as far as, you know, alignment and things like that. This one isn't necessarily there because they make the billet ones or whatever that are adjustable to actually adjust in and out. This one's not, but it is a little bit further out just to help. Because you get like the stock control arms on too much of a lift and they hit the springs and stuff. So this helps, you know, obviously fight that.
So why did I pick Icon? I mean, ultimately there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of great companies making a lot of really, really good products. And really, I mean, that was kind of the hard part for me, was trying to decide which company I kind of wanted to become involved with in terms of, you know, I guess for me, I guess I see this as sort of like a lifetime decision, right? I'm not going to completely redo the suspension on the 4Runner probably ever. And if I do, it will be years down the road. I wanted to get, if I was going to spend this kind of money, I wanted to get sort of involved in an ecosystem that was something that we could live with for a while. Does that make sense? There's a lot of good quality products out there. One of the things that I liked about Icon was that they had a complete, I could get a complete package, like a complete setup. I didn't have to worry about like, where am I going to get the upper control arms? What do I need to worry about the lower links and the upper links in the rear? And, you know, I didn't want to think about any of that stuff. I wanted a complete setup. I wanted a one-stop shop because I wanted it to be simple and easy. I'm probably sure I could have saved money by, you know, sort of like piecing this together, but I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like if I was sort of like mechanically oriented or engineering, you know, had like an engineering mind, and I was comfortable doing this kind of work on my own, and I was doing the work on my own, that's probably what I would do, but I'm not. And so I didn't. I wanted a complete setup that I just wanted to come and I wanted to put it on. I wanted to kind of be done with it. And I asked a lot of people. I know a lot of people running Icon that are happy with it. You know, and it kind of came down to Icon and Kings. And I guess I felt like the Icon product has a heavier presence in the 4Runner community. I could be wrong about that, but that was just sort of the perception I had because I didn't know a lot of people that had been running a King setup for long periods of time, but I've known people that have been running Icons for years, and everybody seems to have good things to say about them. So yeah, that's... And with that, driver's done. Driver front driver and front passenger is done. I mean, with the exception of the extra reservoir thing, it's going to go. I think it's going to go up here, but they're not going to do anything with that until they get the bumper on, which I think is going to go on tomorrow. The reason why I picked the Stage 7 setup is, well, I didn't want to have to piece together, I said this a minute ago, I didn't want to have to piece together a whole bunch of different components. And I wanted the upper control arms because I wanted to sort of improve that aspect of the suspension setup. Also the addition of upper control arms in the front, aftermarket upper control arms, UCAs. It helps with flexibility in the front. I don't believe it gives you a whole lot more travel, but it does give you a little bit more. And it sort of completes the setup. The rear, in terms of the upper and lower links and the cross link and all that stuff, again, I wanted to have, like I said, a more complete setup. I wanted all of that stuff to be done just so that it was operating at the most optimal way that it could. The remote reservoirs, over the last 18 months or so, several times I found myself traversing on super corrugated roads for long periods of time whenever we go on our trips. And I can't say that I noticed like shock fade that was happening with my previous system, but I wouldn't even know what to look for. I do know that doing that with shocks that aren't intended to be used that way is not good long term. So I wanted to have something that was going to be able to better handle that. And having a remote reservoir gives more flow to the system. It makes it more capable of handling terrain like that. And then the Stage 7, I'd mentioned this earlier, it has the adjustability. And now being like, 3 or 4 weeks into the setup, I don't change it all the time, but I do change it some because it's very easy. You just stick your hand in there and you just turn the knob. But it's really nice to have. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you this: the way the suspension feels on the softest setting, it's just so nice. Like I just wasn't used to that. You know what I mean? Like it kind of felt like a box car. You know, it was pretty rough. And now it's like, it feels like the feeling of like a high-end vehicle.
Does the back go faster than the front, you think?
No, the back is actually a lot more involved.
Is it?
Yep.
Well, you've got a lot more parts and pieces, I guess. That doesn't
Yeah.
make sense for me to even ask that, I guess.
So the install, well, I mean, the install, it really took the whole day, like a whole business day. And really, we were kind of hard pressed to get it done in that amount of time. He's obviously very experienced, has done this several times, knew exactly what he was doing. If you were to try to embark on this journey on your own, like without the right equipment and like a lift and all that stuff, obviously, I think it's a 2-day project. The rear really was quite a bit more involved because there's more parts and pieces. If we were just doing the coils and shocks, obviously it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but we've got the upper and lower links, which are on the side, and you get that cross-link thingy. And the cross-link thing, I mean, you have to drop the sway bar, you got to drop the spare tire, which the spare tire was coming off anyway because it was going to go on the back. You know, there was lots of little moving parts and pieces that we kind of had to get involved with.
Super strong. I mean, there should be no issues with lifting from that.
Okay, so I think this is actually super interesting. And if you're like Mr. Technical person, you already know all these things. But if you're like me and you don't really get a chance to be under your truck like this very often, I figured this would be a good opportunity to show you the actual things that we're replacing and like where they are. I mean, I guess you're gonna see it in a second anyway, but check this out. So the drag link has already been removed. You saw that. And it goes from here up to here, right here. And then your lower control arms look different on the back. So that's going to go from here to right there. And then your uppers are right here, from here to up there. And so here's another view. So you've got your lower right here, and it goes right there. And then here's your uppers right there down to there. And if you look, the lower is pretty dinky and the upper is like super dinky. You know, it looks like a stick, like a small, like a twig, especially when compared to this. This is the new Icon upper. So you can see how thick it really is. But you can see the difference. By the way, thank you, wife, for giving me so many oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. These things are amazing. My wife makes the best oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, unless of course you have a wife that makes them, then you're supposed to say that hers are the best. But I'm not kidding, they're amazing. Thank you, wife. Since I'm gonna be here the next couple of nights or the next couple of days, and for the most part my vehicle's not gonna really be drivable, and it's so nice out and I didn't really want to spend the money on a hotel room, and I wanted to break in the new awning. I figured, and Nathan said it was okay, figured I would camp here. Alright, what do you say we get camp set up?
So do you decide how much distance is going to be right there, or is that something they can adjust when they're doing the alignment?
So they will adjust if they need to during the alignment. You basically just measure it out to the stock size, and then I just went probably less than 1/8 of an inch past that, just because I know we're going to be lifting it more than
Okay.
the normal.
Is there any benefit to it being thicker and more beefier?
Yeah, I mean, you're less likely to break it and different things, This is all threaded, so it's adjustable, obviously. For some reason, be trying to go forward and, you dropped and came back real hard or something. I mean, there's a possibility that you could, bend one of those arms or something if you hit it with enough force.
Okay, so we've removed the coils and then the shocks, then the coils in the rear. And then he removed the cross link, and then he removed the upper control arms. That's what they're called. And we've gone ahead and replaced those, and he's getting, I'm assuming you're ready. You're gonna do the lower control arms next, right?
Yep.
And so then he's gonna do the lower control arms and replace those. And then from there, I imagine the link, and then the coils, and then the shocks, right?
Yeah, we'll do the coils first, and then we'll throw the shocks in, and then the drag bar will be the last part.
Drag bar will be the last. So when you're removing the coils, or if you're doing any work on the rear suspension, there's really there's a balance in regards to the order of the steps. You can't take the coils out without undoing the shocks. You can't undo the shocks without releasing. You can't undo the shock bolts without releasing or relieving some of the pressure from the back and from this back axle. So it's kind of like a balance. The way I see it, the process would be to jack it up from, if you're not, lift, jack it up from the pumpkin, put some jack stands on the frame, keep the jack there where the pumpkin is, and that way you can kind of relieve some of the pressure there, but not lift up the vehicle, just kind of relieve some of the pressure, lift up the pumpkin just a little bit of the axle, and then remove the shock bolts. And then you can drop the axle down, but you still have the jack there, maybe even have some jack stands to sort of buffer in case the jack was to, like a floor jack in case it was to give out. Then if the axle is brought down enough, it will release the pressure so that you can remove the coils. And then you just need to put it all back together in that same order.
So you have soft is on this side, and then it's going to come around all the way to the max setting of hard.
Okay.
So.
And then you've got everything in between.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Then you have everything in between.
And where is that mounted in there?
This?
Yeah, where will it mount?
So this is going to mount, back in here, basically.
Okay.
It's just, all this stuff's kind of in the way right now.
Got it.
So today is October 24th, and it's exactly 1 month after the install of this new Icon suspension. I've been driving it for a month, and I love it. I've taken it on, so I did like a local trail like the day or two after I got back, and then like a week or two after I got back, I went to Ouray and did Imogene, Summit Black Bear, and went back up Yankee Boy Basin. I had a good solid 3 days there. No, not 3 days. Was it 2 days? If you follow us on Instagram, you've seen some of those images. I've got some epic video coming on that, probably in a couple of weeks. Impressions so far, I love this setup. When I have it on the soft setting, it feels like I'm riding on a cloud. When I have it on the hard setting, I haven't really put it in between because it's like all or nothing. I mean, to be totally fair, it's not a dramatic difference. You know, it's not like all of a sudden you're just swaying back and forth and then you're like really stiff, but you don't want it to be that way. But it's a big difference between the two, and I appreciate the ability to be able to change that. I'll probably leave it on the soft setting for, I'd say, I don't know, 90% of the time. I love it so far. I'm super happy with it, and it's like, it just feels great, and it feels really high quality. To be honest, I'm kind of kicking myself right now though, because there's a couple of things I didn't do that I should have done before. It's measurement wise. I wish I would have like measured full articulation on the front and back, and I wish I would have measured actual height from the ground to the top of the fender, and then from the middle of the hub to the top of the fender. I'm sorry, bottom of the fender wheel well, because I didn't do that, and I have no idea where it sits in compared to what it was before. I may switch out the rear coils with the OME heavy duty ones that I took off. I don't feel like it's riding that low in the back, but I also need to adjust the front and bring it up a little bit. We did do that at CBI headquarters, but we ran out of time, and we didn't get it to where we wanted it to be because we had to get it to alignment before 4:30, I believe, the next day or whatever. We wanted to get the bumpers on first, or maybe it was the last day. I don't remember what the deal was, but we had a tight timeline to get everything to alignment. But yeah, so here's some footage of the new suspension at work.